This is Rose Cora Perry, and you're listening to me on The Subject Press.
Hi, I'm Dilly Briggs with The Subject Press, and today I'm getting to speak with a really cool singer-songstress, Rose Cora Perry. How are you doing this morning, Ms. Perry?
Well, it's actually evening here, but I'm doing just fine. I had a long day at work, and now I'm at home catching up on, my real identity, which is on stage and writing songs, of course.
You know what? I'm so used to, I forget, that I talk to musicians and artists from all over the place. I forget, that we're not on the same time frame sometimes. Now, where are you located at?
I am in London, Ontario, Canada. Not the cool London like London, England, but the one in Canada, which is about 2 hours west of Toronto. So it's kind of sandwiched in between Toronto on one end and Detroit, Michigan on the other, right smack dab in the middle of those two major music cities, which is pretty cool.
Oh, okay. Nice. Very nice. Okay. Now, I've been, going over, a lot of your music. I did come across the new music because you've been posting your new music, the song Dark Battle. Dark Battle Within. I'm sorry, is it Empty Dark Battle or is it Dark Battle for your new song?
No, the song is called Empty, but the music video, you're right on par with that. The music video is all about, that battle between light and dark within yourself and really finding, your true nature and your true direction of where you want to be and who you want to be in your life. So that is a good analogy of the music video, but the song itself is called Empty.
Well, you know what? That's probably what stuck in my head then because I have watched the video. I watched it actually several times. I really did like the vibe of it, and maybe that's what it came because you can see, that you have one entity battling the other, but it kind of just seems like the same person within.
Absolutely.
Is that a battle like that something came from you? Is it something that was inspired, something that you went through, or just artistically you wanted to put that out there?
No, it's both. So, of course, anything that an artist does is usually an exaggeration or, inspired from real events from their own life. So Empty actually is the last of the series in my trilogy that I released. So I did 3 music videos back to back, 1 month after another before releasing my whole brand new album last year in the late fall. So first I released Away I Go, followed by 6 Feet Under, then followed by Empty. And as a synopsis, if you look at the whole series, what kind of the storyline is with the trilogy, it's the battle and the story of life, death, and afterlife and or spiritual rebirth. So looking at, the process of being an artist, the process of finding yourself, battling, betrayal, battling romance, battling things that, break your heart and make you have to start and rethink everything that you thought you knew all over again and finding yourself in that. Whether we're talking about real life or art, it's all kind of the same because inspiration comes from art, inspiration comes from life. So it kind of all comes together. And, of course, it is inspired from true events from my own life. But as I said, exaggerated for the purpose of being an entertaining storyline and, the Hollywood kind of thing, so to speak.
Oh, yeah, it drew me in. It really did. It drew me in. Again, I watched it several times, not just for the music, but to be able to go back and look at the filming aspect of what you put into it and the storyline that you put into the video. So it intrigued me. So I did watch it a number of times, and I really did enjoy that, and I liked the storyline. I did not realize that it was a full trilogy. I did not realize that your albums were connected in that manner. So that's a really cool piece of information to know. I love that. Now, some of the other songs, now I do know I have gone through some of the other music as well, and I like your rendition of I Got Rhythm. I love your live version of that. That was absolutely fantastic. Do you like to dabble in, you're welcome. Do you like to dabble in different genres, or do you kind of have a certain sound that you like to stick to? Because that was so different from the music I've been hearing from you. And stuff like that.
From a songwriting perspective, I think it's fairly safe for me to categorize myself as a rock musician first and foremost. However, I am very diverse with my musicality in that I'm actually a classically trained singer. I went through the Royal Conservatory training for about 14 years, and then I also did some musical theater stuff as well as some jazz. So I listened to a whole gamut of different things, and they all influenced my songwriting. So people have told me that they can definitely hear classical and jazz influence in how I sing, but obviously it's set to a rock and roll kind of attitude with, distorted guitars and grungy palm muting and that kind of thing. So I've always been a proponent thinking that the best songwriters, writers and the best songs are ones that draw from diversity of influences and allow themselves to be influenced by everything and anything that's out there. If something touches you artistically, irrespective of what genre it is, it doesn't really matter, right? If it inspires you, that's right. Wonderful. And you should take a little bit from everything that's out there. That's why we've got so many different forms of music, because they're all appealing to somebody and they're all wonderful in their own way.
Exactly. There's always somebody who is going to like, whatever it is that you put out, because there's so many different things and so many different influences. And your voice, you have a beautiful voice, and you do have that voice that you can go from one to another, because I also saw a video of you doing a tribute to Norah Jones. Right? Yeah, I watched it. I studied it.
You did your research.
I did my research, and I saw that you played live with jazz guitarist David Jolly for that. Is that correct?
Yeah.
How was that?
He's a good buddy of mine.
Beautiful. That was absolutely beautiful. Was that fun to do that video with him? Was it fun to play with him?
It was. We're good friends, and I mean, even though as I said, I'm primarily known as a rock and roller, having that obnoxious stage presence and that kind of thing, and slamming on an electric guitar, I certainly have friends of all musical genres, and it was really, really cool to be able to collaborate with David, because he's a very, very well-respected jazz musician, and it was cool to be able to come up with that arrangement with him and just work that out and do a little tribute to Norah, who's one of my all-time favorite singers. I just adore her, and I think she's fabulous. In fact, it was one of the best concerts I've ever seen in my life, was seeing her live, because it was just so raw and real and genuine, and she doesn't need any bells or whistles. She's just so freaking talented that she compels you with her voice and her presence, and that to me is the testament of a truly talented person.
Oh God, I agree. I definitely agree. But I also accredit you with that, because I think it's wonderful. Because, like you said, you're so that front strong female voice, And then I saw these videos with you singing these beautiful jazz or soul music, and it was like, wow, you can really change in diversity, and you can hit all of those notes. And honestly, not all singers can sing a lot of different genres and be able to hit those notes, So I just thought that was great. But now, speaking of the rock bands and stuff, let's get into that. I know that you fronted punk bands for about 10 years. Is that correct?
I did, and I was very good at, wearing torn fishnets and stage diving and inciting mosh pits.
That's fantastic. See, that's the type of music I like as well, So it's the funny music that you can really get into and stuff. And now, what's the big difference between like being in a big band like that opposed to more of the solo artists and stuff? Do you have do you feel like you have more success being more a solo artist because you can do a lot more? Or was it, did you really prefer to be like in a big band, like one of those punk bands? And, what would be the difference for you?
Well, I would say that I really enjoyed being in, a quartet and doing the punk rock and the grunge kind of stuff. It was a completely different era in my life. I was much younger then. I was still, getting my feet wet in terms of learning about the music industry. And I would never take away any of those experiences, because they taught me a lot about myself, about the industry, about working with others. But I will say, with this new album that I just put out, Onto the Floor, I think I really finally found myself, truly who I want to be and my own direction in terms of being a songwriter, because I've taken, the rock and roll elements and aesthetic of, those past projects that I really, really enjoyed, but I also paired it with my classical sensibility, showing that I can sing a lot more than just screaming my ass off all the time. And there's nothing wrong with screaming your ass off, but, I am a classically trained vocalist, and I think that I was just really in those past bands trying to navigate how to merge all these different influences that I have and these different musical experiences, and I think I finally figured it out. It only took like 10 years, but you know what? That's kind of the beauty of artistic evolution and then songwriting, and really pushing yourself to challenge yourself in different directions. And I think that's, kind of the fun of it all. So I'm happy that I took my time and really, navigated through all of that, because I got to, as I said, express different aspects of who I am as a person and a songwriter.
And that's fantastic. It's really fantastic that you could even have that experience on both ends on top of that, and I think that's actually wonderful that you're able to do that. And you can tell, a lot in your music, you have a lot of depth to your music, and I really enjoy what I've been hearing, so I thought that was really great. But I was like, but at the same time, it's like I want to know about the rock bands and all of that stuff, too, because that just looked like it was a lot of fun,
Of course.
So, definitely. Now, can you tell us, I did find out in my research of you that you yourself have also started a nonprofit, and it's called Music Saves. And I loved the idea about all of this. I read about it. I thought it was fantastic. I'm very much somebody who loves to help doing things for the community as well. And I love when there are artists out there that give it back because some of these artists come from a harder background as well. Can you tell us about your foundation? Like, what made you want to start this foundation, and what exactly is it about? What do you do with this foundation?
Absolutely. So the thing is that when I got into music, my parents listened to rock and roll and stuff when I was younger, but I was really kind of intent on doing the Broadway sort of thing with my classical training. But then when I got into my teenage years, I'll be honest in saying that, I was pretty much the biggest loser at my high school. I got bullied a lot. And in every possible regard, some really, really terrible things happened to me. It took quite a toll on my self-esteem. I didn't feel like I was very worthy of anything. I suffered from an eating disorder. It was a really, really tough time in my life. And the reality is that I felt very isolated, very alienated, very, very much alone. Like nobody else got what I was going through. I didn't feel like I could talk to anybody. And I had seen also, the damaging effects of drugs and alcohol from other people that I'd seen that were suffering with similar things. And I didn't want to go down that road. So I was thinking, okay, so clearly I've got a lot of animosity and angst, and I need to try and find some sort of positive way to get these emotions out without, being deprecating to myself. So I started to write songs, and that's how I actually became a rock and roll singer. It was because I had all these pent-up emotions that I didn't know how to deal with any other way, and that's what became my initial lyrics for all of my songs. Then something really, really magical and powerful happened, was that when I started to perform live with my very, very first band, other people could relate to what I was talking about, and they're like, wow, a piece of me was in those lyrics too, and I got it. And it really occurred to me at that point that music is a universal language. I mean, you don't necessarily have to understand the words even to get it. If the emotion compels you in the same way that it did the songwriter, you're relating to that person. You're relating to other people through this incredible power that music is. And to me, what a beautiful and powerful thing that we've got here that we can relate to universally. So I decided when I was releasing my first solo album back in 2010 that I wanted to harness that power of music, and I wanted to try and do something good, for other youth that kind of went through similar experiences or were going through similar experiences that I had in their teenage years. Because that stuff, it's hard, right? It's hard when you feel like there's nobody else out there that gets you. It's hard because you don't feel you can really talk to adults because, they might minimize it and not really get, the seriousness of it. But the reality is that more and more kids are committing suicide because of these kind of things going on. So it is a big deal. Mental health issues are a big deal. They can be just as debilitating as physical issues. And so I started this non-for-profit organization, and the intent is that eventually I'd like to be able to raise enough funds, but, that all depends on people purchasing music, of course. I'd like to be able to raise enough funds so that I can do a tour across high schools talking to youth who are going through some tough times about my experiences in high school and how it was really, really powerful and important for me as a matter of self-preservation to get those emotions out in a positive way, and that was by artistically channeling it. And so I'm not saying that, for everybody writing a song, for example, is going to solve all of their problems, but it certainly is a healthy way to get those emotions out of their system, and it's a healthy way to relate to others and just be able to vent and get that expression out and, perhaps feel better about everything that's going on. I know I've always felt better when I put pen to paper, and then it's even more powerful if you can relate to people through music. So that's kind of the concept behind Music Saves. And in conjunction with that, I've done a bunch of guest speaking already at various non-for-profits in association with mental health issues and depression, because these are things that really, really hit me hard as a kid. And, they are things that are gaining more importance in society in terms of people recognizing how debilitating they are. And I'm just trying to do my part in that whole equation.
I think that is absolutely wonderful, because you are right. It very much can be debilitating to someone to go through something and have this hard time in their life and not feel they have someplace to turn to or someone to even understand where they might be coming from. Even if it is not the exact same spot they're coming from, they're still in that little dark spot, in their life. And you're right. And mental health does have a lot to do with that. I've gone through some of that issue myself. I do talk to a lot of people, but, doesn't necessarily mean a lot of people want to talk to me.
Right.
And so I get that, and I am connected into the community stuff as far as mental health and helping the community myself. So I was really impressed when I went through, learned about the Music Saves. I do know, again, about it, but I wanted to make sure that to get your aspect of why you started it. And I think it's fantastic, because a lot of people do need to have that connection. They do need to get, be able to reach out and find something for them, and they don't necessarily have it always at home, or, that they have somebody they can talk to. And music does speak to so many people that a lot do turn to it and to different arts. And I am finding that a lot of musicians and a lot, just people in your position do want to give back. So I was very proud to find out that you have this foundation, Music Stays. So you heard her, folks. If you ever come across, Music Stays, make sure to donate to it. By Rose Cora Perry. Yeah, support her, sponsor her on that. It's fantastic that you go around to the schools and talk to youth and let them know that there is another outlet out there, and it's a great creative outlet. And just like you said, your music spoke to people. So you did connect to the community. You connected to other people, and I think that's fantastic. I love the fact that you combined everything together, and I just absolutely love that. Where can people find your information, especially the foundation information? Where can people look for that to be able to donate or, find your music, to purchase your music and help donate to your foundation?
So my website is a wealth of information, and all my social media links are actually nicely up there on the right-hand corner, right under this awesome photo of myself and my drummer. And my website is just rosecoraperry.com, and that's Rose like the flower, Cora, C-O-R-A, and then Perry like Joe Perry from Aerosmith.com. So if you go there, you'll find, links for my Facebook and my Twitter and YouTube and all that crazy social media stuff. But if you read, about my bio, there's information about Music Saves there. And then if you check out the Angels page as well as my Keepsakes page, those are kind of my online store pages that talk a bit more about the products that I have for sale as well as my foundation. And the thing is, I think it goes without saying, but perhaps it needs to be emphasized more. Why music is so important and so impactful in this way is because truly it lets people know that they're not alone. And listening to a song where somebody is writing about something you've gone through, that is it's just such a comforting experience to know that, wow, I'm not the only person facing this on my own. And I think that's, again, just emphasizing why this was so important to me as a songwriter, to be able to go out there and relate to people.
Yes, and you're right. Everything you have said is exactly true. People, once they find that connection, and if it's through your music they find that connection, then it is something that can bring about a little positivity with them, because, like you said, they're no longer alone.
Exactly.
And that can change a person's
everything
on life in so many different directions, that it really is a great way to be able to be seen and heard, and know that your music is not just something that you're playing for fun, but you're trying to do something helpful, and you can help change someone's life, just in that regard. And the fact that you play your music with that type of soul and that type of thought already, that process already into it, just for me makes it feel the music even more intense. And now when I go back and I listen to some of these songs, it's going to be a little bit different of a meaning. It's going to have a little bit more to it than just empty words. It's going to be, that was someone's life, not just a written word.
And that's exactly it. And I've always been one who tries to emphasize the importance of lyrics. Like, I mean, I think it goes without saying everybody has songs that they like listening to just because, you know, they're fun to dance to or they got a good groove. And that's great. There's a place for that too.
Oh,
but
cool.
I think in terms of like having the full holistic experience of a song that really hits all the points, you have to listen to what the song's about. And when it ultimately connects with you, it's like reading a book or seeing a movie where it's like, wow, that's totally my life. It's that same kind of feeling. It's like, wow, somebody else out there gets it. I'm not alone. Like, this is, you know, talking about the universal experiences of humans. And I mean, no, our lives don't mirror each other in every single way, but that doesn't mean that we don't all share similarities. And, you know, it's a great way to break down barriers and, you know, discrimination and all those things and just find commonalities with people.
Exactly. You know, and, you know, I love when people go out of their way to make sure that they actually bring that about and let others know about it, you know, and I'm so proud that, you know, be able to meet you and, you know, and make your acquaintance on that, because I think it's fantastic in everything you do, because I will admit I am one who will use music and stage entertainment to reset my brain when I'm just having that bad day or my family is going through something. You know, I definitely use that myself. So I do utilize that type of information, and I know I'm not the only one. Thank you so much for everything that you do. You know,
I try.
You know, I actually have a little tear in my eye, believe it or not, just when you're talking about the foundation and the mental health stuff, because I'm connected to that too. You know, that type of world as well. You know, and I love when people will use their art and talent to try to bring something positive with that as well. So you're not just trying to help yourself, you're trying to help others. You know,
right.
And that's fantastic. I love that. You know, and one of the things that I love to ask anybody that I'm speaking with at the end of this, you know, our little interview is, what type of advice would you give someone who is trying to break into the industry that you're doing? You know, somebody that wants to be where you're at. What type of advice would you give them? Because you're in an industry that's also extremely hard and, you know, scrutinizes a lot. You know, what would you say to somebody?
Well, I once was listening to a radio interview by one of the major Canadian media personalities. His name is Alan Cross, and he runs a show called the Ongoing History of New Music. He's a brilliant man in terms of musicianship and journalism and all those things together. And he once said, "The world doesn't owe you anything." And it really made me think for a second. It's true. It doesn't. So if you want something, you got to work your freaking ass off for it. And you know what?
Right.
Sometimes the answer will be no. And that's okay too. It's not meant to be. But again, that shouldn't, you know, cause you to lose motivation. It just should cause you to work that much harder or try a different way. I mean, every failed opportunity is not a failure. It's an opportunity to look for a new way to do things or to reorient yourself or to reinvent yourself. So above all I can say is, honestly, you can't expect things to happen for you. You can't expect have a lucky break. The reality of that is so low. Most of the time there's nepotism involved. Most of the time people's success stories are because they've networked or they know somebody or they've really worked their ass off, or a combination of all of those things. So, you know, don't expect to be discovered at a Rolling Stones concert. That has happened for some people, but it's a very rare thing that it happens that way. So if you want something, work for it. Because you know what? When you actually get there and you have some success, it'll be that much more fulfilling and that much more satisfying because you know that you earned it.
Oh, my gosh, yes. Exactly. Success is so much sweeter when you know you've earned that success behind it. You didn't get there by a favor or anything like that, you know, and that's perfect advice for anyone, because you don't just wake up and all of a sudden everybody knows your name. You know, nobody sees the up and down roller coaster that you go on before you get to the end of the ride, and there you are, you know. So, well, thank you so much. I really do appreciate that you took the time to talk to us. I really did appreciate and enjoyed meeting you, Rose. And so, again, for anybody out there, her name is Rose Cora Perry. She is in London, Ontario, Canada, right?
You got it. There you go.
I remember. You know, and, just please make sure to go to her site, check out her stuff, listen to her new music, listen to the Empty. It's a fantastic video on top of sound. It's got a great visual to it, you know, and again, I was pulled in by the visual, and I really love that. And if you hear anything about Music Saves, make sure to check it out, and just support your local artists out there because they work really, really, really hard for you.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Jenny Briggs with The Subject Press. And, Cora, before we go, is there anything you would like to add?
Well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for this fabulous interview and for allowing me to talk not just about music, but about the meaning behind it, because I think sometimes we get caught up in that and we forget, there's a lot more to it than just, a good song and a good groove. There's actually person's life goes into what they're doing, right? It's a form of art. It's a form of expression, just like anything else is. And I really, really appreciate the opportunity to talk more on that side of things. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. And again, thank you for allowing us a little bit of, information and a little bit of in-depth into your life, because everything you do and write is so much of your life that we are learning about you and what you've gone through as well. So thank you for letting us be a little intimate with you and finding out. And